So I sent out an email that all of you guys should have gotten at some point last week, that hashed out sort of where we are and everything. I will tell you, these little faculty meetings are totally taking the place of an instructor orientation that we traditionally do. So don't worry, there's not a whole nother thing later. Um, and I will try to make this brief. Like I said, but I wanted to cover a few things with you guys and show you some stuff. So first of all, let's talk Google Classroom. I'm going to share my screen so you can see it. And feel free to stop me if I have hashed this out with you guys already. I'll be honest, I've been looking at these things long enough where I don't remember who I have told what to. I've kind of slept since, I'm afraid. Adjust my guy over here. There we go. Now I can still see the chat. Okay, so you can all see my giant Google Classroom, yes?
Yes.
Okay, and again, stop me if we already talked about this, but it was on my list to make sure. So I am setting up or have established a Google Classroom for every single class that we are having. Leanne, with the exception of your mentors, I will have that done by later. I haven't finished theirs yet. As you guys can see, there are a lot of them. Every section of a class that we have has its own classroom. The same way every section that you would be teaching would have its own physical classroom. So Jessica, you'll see, for example, that there's an arts and digital design A, B, and C for your courses. I feel like I tried to be clever when I did these. And in the information on it, I gave you, if you have several sections, I gave you the schedule for it. The section named is always whoever is teaching it, just the instructor's last name. And then, like I said, if you have several sections of something, you'll see that the room number is just the schedule. So that's your Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 2:15. You know, the other two courses I think are both Tuesday, Thursday. So you're welcome to mess around with that and change it, whatever you need to do. But just so you guys understand how it's set up. I also did not take the time to set themes. Google likes themes, and Google put a cute little theme with everything. It felt like you needed a makeup theme, Jessica. I was not going to waste my life changing it. You do you. Put whatever you want there in the theme. These are not things I bother setting up, guys. So once I turn it over to you, by all means, handle your life.
Lyran, don't let me forget, there are some sections that we're going to need to cancel on. I'm assuming it would be easier to go ahead and take them out now rather than have people get confused. So.
Okay.
Just don't let me forget.
Okay. We do not yet know what those are, correct? Because we're still working through the scheduling.
I know.
We don't know what all of them are.
I know what 6 of them are.
Yes. Then please send me a list so I can stop doing unnecessary work.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. As you guys also know, this is an unorthodox summer and we're just rolling with it. So class sizes, class numbers, everything, as we like to say around here, is subject to change. So this is where we are right now. So if your class happens to be one of those 6, you'll hear from me and then we'll both know. In the meantime, you'll see several of you have several sections of the same class. Like I said, and you're welcome to make adjustments to them as you see fit. I'm going to borrow Lon's class here. So Lon is teaching AUB research. He has an A, B, and C. And you'll notice once you get inside it, this is also like a little mini Google Classroom tutorial. I think most of you guys are familiar with it. So unless someone would like for me to do an actual walkthrough tutorial, I'm not going to bother, as much as I'm just letting you know what I've done in here. I don't mind setting one up. Just let me know and we'll schedule it. So you'll see under classwork, I have gone ahead and dropped your pre and post tests in here. So a quick little thought for those of you who are brand new, this is also in last week's email, I need a pre and post test for you. Even if you're not new, but you are teaching something new. So I think that's a couple of our sciences, for example, are new, things that we didn't have before. I need a 25 question, multiple choice, pre/post test. We'll give it at the beginning. I will schedule it when I drop it in for it to pop up on the time frame that we want so the kids can take it when we want and not before. I figure you guys are doing so much for us, and there's a lot of moving parts in this and a lot of experimentation, but that's one piece at least you guys won't have to think about. It will auto grade. You can click into it yourself if you want to and pull responses. We can export it to Excel if you want, and I can show you if you need to see how to do that, but you'll have access and can check it out yourself and see the kids' results in real time. Okay. You can also set a due date for it. I probably will, but I have not yet. So we'll make the kids take the pre-test by a certain time, and the post-test will open and close during a certain time frame. We'll probably give them about a week for each one. As of right now, pre-test will open commuter week. So our very first week in June, they'll have, I don't know, Monday to Sunday or whatever. And then post-test will open the very final week after you're done with the kids. So the week of July 6th. And we'll give them a few days to do those as well. Okay. Again, if you have not done one, please do it in Google Forms. If you absolutely positively cannot figure out how to work Google Forms, or you hate your life or whatever, then fine. You can do it in some other format, like a Word document that's easy to copy and paste, and send it to me. But I would greatly appreciate you doing it in Google Forms, because if you don't, then I have to move it to Google Forms. Trying to think. Yes, so once you've done it in Google Forms, or if you're doing a totally new thing, please just share it with me. You can share it with my regular UT email, or I'm dropping the chat, the departmental email, which is what I'm running most of our Google Classroom things out of. Share it with that email, please, so I can keep everything in the same place. If you forget and can't find it, just share it with me. It's not the end of the world, but if you can remember, that would be perfect. I know some of you guys have already reached out to me about past posts, about the other tests from previous years. I do have them. If you've ever given me a digital copy, I have it. So if you know you did one and you can't find it, you want to look at it, you want to change it, you want to do whatever, just drop me an email and I'll make sure I can send it to you and give you permissions to change it and do whatever. Please don't reinvent the wheel. If you've ever given it to us, I still have it living in the cloud. Okay. And if you have not yet done one of these and you need to do one, I would love to have this by like Wednesday or Thursday in an ideal world. Okay. I get life is crazy, but in an ideal world, that's what I would love to have. Questions on pre or post tests?
Lyrin?
Yes.
For Margaret, we're going to need to pull one of the former chemistry pre and post tests and get to her so she can see an idea of what's taught. She's agreed to pick up 2 of our chemistry sections.
Yes, I saw it. Margaret, I will not remember that in the next 5 minutes. If you will please send me an email and go, hey, Lyrin, you promised to send me the pre and post test of chemistry.
Okay.
I actually already have them preloaded into the chemistry section, so you're welcome to look at them, change them, whatever, but just, I won't remember. So remind me, and I'll send you permission so you can mess around with them.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Added bonus of Google Forms, as you guys mess around with these things, even if I preload them, it will auto update and save so they can just still live there. You don't have to change anything once you mess around stuff in Google Forms. All right. Another thought within Classroom as far as the classwork goes. So, and stop me if I'm talking really fast, because I know I do that sometimes. So we have in the past, for those of you who taught this in the past, had a very particular policy when it comes to assignments, from the standpoint of the kids are super busy when they're not in class, so don't give them out of class stuff because they don't have time to do it. This year, as you can see, is a little different because they're not with us. And I think a lot of you guys will actually need assignments, especially for kids who are watching things asynchronously. Otherwise, they have nothing to do. So I think what might be a good idea is to go ahead and, as you're coming up with your lesson plan, go ahead and put assignments with them. I am encouraging, especially those of you in those subjects that take more practice to grasp a concept, maybe my foreign languages, I'm talking to my maths, perhaps some of my sciences, to go ahead and give extra practice, even if all of it is not required. You know, I do know I've had some kiddos who go, I'm taking pre-calculus, and I know I have to work things out 500 times. How am I ever going to get it? So maybe if they have things they're doing in class with you, and then they have assignments that are listed in classwork outside of your official class time, and perhaps this is one of the rare occasions where you can give extra practice sections for all these things for our kids who really want to make sure they're comfortable with things and want to come back with questions. It's not something we typically get to do in a summer, but feel free to embrace that. We will also, as we do every year, need examples of kids' work. See, it's 3 examples, right?
Yes.
We will need 3 examples of kids' work. So Keep that in mind. I know we've asked you to be very interactive, very creative with them. At some point, we'll need 3 examples that can be filed. So something we can print, something we can take a picture of and print it, and print the picture, just something we can somehow document. I'm kind of open to whatever it is. I don't know, make them have a video, we'll file that digitally. But you get the idea. We will need some kind of tangible evidence of work done as well. It can't all just be, for example, a kid who phenomenally works through some really cool stuff with math with you. You know, it's got to be, I don't know, a worksheet or something. Okay, so assignments, like I said, will work a little bit differently, and you may want to especially keep in mind, like I said, your kids who may not be watching it with you live and may need a little extra guidance or a little extra practice. Questions on any of that? Sweet. All right. Oh, good. We're just rolling through this list. Love it. Okay. In line with that, I have been talking a lot to my kiddos, and one thing I really stress with them about doing it this summer is our goal at Upward Bound is to give them the collegiate experience. In the past, that has been a residential experience. Now, this is a distance learning experience. We're all adults. We all know that life often does not go the way you plan. And truthfully, with the demographic of kids we're dealing with, quite a few of them may end up taking a distance course at some point in their college careers anyway. Some of them may end up working later, may need a class that's only offered a certain time, etc. So I really want to help them to take responsibility for this summer and really work as though this is a traditional distance learning course. That means that I would like to incorporate something we've had before but haven't really utilized. I want to play with syllabi. So every year you guys have written a syllabus. Well, for every subject, you've written a syllabus. I have a lot of these on file. Again, if you don't know where yours was, but you know it exists, reach out to me. I'll find it and send it to you. Or if you know it's a subject that has to have been taught before, even though you never wrote a syllabus and you want to see what someone else may have on file, by all means, reach out to me. I will promise, because we haven't done a lot with these, my syllabi files are a little more sparse. So do not be surprised if you look up and, sorry, I've company. So do not be surprised if you look up and I don't have a syllabus for this. The idea behind this is that you'll post the syllabus onto Google Classroom and something very obviously stated like syllabus. And they just need to be general. I don't need every single class period by any means. But again, since all of our kids will not be live with you, it should be sufficient enough to give them an idea of what's being covered. So for example, if I'm teaching English, right, and I plan to cover essay writing, I may make that week 1. Essay writing, parentheses, theses, how to cite things, how to make a basic outline. Week 2, we're talking Shakespeare. Maybe I'll put like the type of play it is, how to read it, how to understand it. Like that sort of thing. I don't need nitty gritty, deep down what you're gonna do. A lot of that's gonna change as you get in with the kids anyway, but give me a general guidelines because I want to avoid kids going, what did you do last class? What are we gonna do next week? Like I want them to learn to look at a syllabus and read one the way your college professor would actually expect you to. I know for those of you high school teachers who use syllabi, you really make your kids read them. For those of you college professors, you're probably like me, I didn't answer questions that were on my syllabus, so I want them to embrace the concept and the principle of taking responsibility for this. Along with that, all of our kids will have UTK emails. I want them to embrace the concept of email. Sorry, that's not like a pet peeve of mine at all. Which means I want them to learn how to communicate effectively and respectfully with adults. So I'm really going to be stressing with our kids, if you know you're gonna miss next Wednesday's class because you're working, reach out to your instructor. Send an email with a beginning, and a middle, and an end, okay? I will ask your forgiveness in advance because I've seen some of the emails these children send. I'll ask your forgiveness in advance. However, I do want to encourage them to learn to check their email, to respond via email. So file that in as well, even in terms of, I imagine most of you guys around day 1 or so give a general, this is how I expect things to go kind of spiel. Feel free to work that in. I will communicate with you guys via email. I expect the same. This is how that works. Just to really, once again, help them to take ownership of the distance learning process. Since we all know that if this were UT running it and you feel the need to miss class and not check things and not show up, your professor is not losing sleep over it. I want them to understand that, okay? questions, comments, concerns about any of that? Hopefully I'm not asking too much of you guys. I saw several head nods of like, they need to get it. So I think I'm good. Okay, perfect. In reference to, oh, Jonathan, yeah.
Are we going to have students sending emails to instructors' personal email,
No.
or are they going to be using emails to the UTK email they get?
You literally, perfect segue. Thank you. That's exactly where I'm headed. So you can still see my speed, I believe. So you'll notice under here we have people as well. I will populate your classroom with the students who are registered for once schedules come out. So you don't have to worry about that. I will put them in, and we as a staff will actually go in and manually accept all the invitations so the kids' stuff is set up and they can't complain and say they didn't have access. If they tell you they didn't have access, it's probably a lie. Okay. By the same token, I'm just, look, I'm just telling y'all. By the same token, I have discovered a couple of things. I know I promised, right? I said in the email I sent out before that as I got these done, I would give you guys access. I have learned, however, that several school systems through which you guys have emails that I have for you like to lock down emails for staff the way they do for students. So my Knox County friends, yeah, no. Okay. Some of you others, and then for some of you guys, I just had non-Gmail emails. So this will sort of push me to a decision. With becoming UT employees, and see, correct me if I lie in here, but I think this is true, or Leanne rather, correct me if I'm mistaken. With you guys being temporary UT employees, you will have net IDs, which you will use for minor training and such. We should also be able to turn on emails for you, and all of your Google Classroom things will run through your UTK email.
I believe what they'll need to do is once they get the net ID, they'll call OIT to get their email set up, and they'll walk them through the first time setup and everything, and then they'll just need to let you know what their UT email is and that it's active.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right, Leanne?
Well, they can set up their email on their own once they have
It's a link, right?
their net
Yeah.
ID. They can go to OIT.
I said call, but I meant go to the website and go through the
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
time webmail setup.
Yeah. So
Oh,
go ahead, Leanne.
I was just going to confirm on the minor training for those that we had to go through the hiring process. I have not heard back from the programs for minors, but they will. Once I hear your name is ready, like they're going to send you a background check, and it's from a third party. And so she'll say, hey, I just sent this, to Sue Ellen. She's going to receive a background check. I will immediately send you an email to give you a heads up, because it will go sometimes to your spam folder or wherever that's routed to. So you'll need to be on the lookout, but I'll give you a heads up to check for those. And then once the background check is completed, then you'll be able to do the child protection training.
I just put the OIT website link in the chat so that everybody will have that.
Yeah. And when we get things, when things go through the system and we get your net IDs, we'll be sure to drop you the link that takes you straight to your email registration and such as well. Your email for UT, fortunately, will just be whatever your net ID is at utk.edu or whatever. So it's pretty straightforward. But yes, we will keep these kids as isolated from your personal lives as possible. So they will not have access to your personal emails that we have, or the work email, whatever it is you've given us. That's not what we're going to give to them. We will make them do like they would do in a real world. Pull up a directory or open Canvas or whatever to get your email, and that will live inside Google Classroom. So what they will see will be your UTK email, and they will all have UTK emails as well. Okay, so benefits of that are a couple of things. I said, A, it keeps everything within the UTK realm, which should hopefully eliminate some general glitches I've seen with Google Classroom, with things being submitted and weird domain issues. It also will allow you to set things to auto grade, because all of your stuff will be coming from the same domain, and for security things. And then, like I said, it will prevent the kids from necessarily having access to emails and other things that you use in your personal lives. You can keep that separate. So as that stuff, net IDs and everything come in, you'll be hearing from us. Yeah, you'll hear from us. Some, I think they all stay the same or something, but listen, when we get more information, that will be another email. Sorry to blow up your inboxes. Okay, let's see, rolling through my long list over here. Should fix that. this is just a general FYI about iPads. I think all of you guys know this. All of our kids will be getting iPads and keyboards so that they will definitely have devices with which they can access Google Classroom at work and that they can do the work. I will say a couple of thoughts that may or may not have occurred to you guys as you're planning is that one, if you have a specific software, I think when you guys asked me this in an email too, if you have a certain software that you want your kids, it was you, Lindy, okay, that you want your kids to have access to, please, and you know it now, please go ahead and shoot me an email. My preference is to preload as much as possible onto these bad boys so that they are ready to go. That will also give me the opportunity to troubleshoot any sort of issues. If I notice something's gonna have a weird something or other, God only knows, it's technology. That being said, we are trying to set the iPad so that the permissions are such where they can download free applications. So if you get 2 or 3 weeks in and you go, oh, I found this perfect thing for physics and it's free, the kids should be able to download it without any issues. Should. Should that change, I'll let you guys know. But that's the goal at the moment, is to give a little bit of flexibility if you need to make adjustments or you come up with a cool idea in the middle of the summer. I'm trying to give you guys as much flexibility as possible while still keeping things as secure as possible. Yeah, go ahead, Lindy.
Do we know that they'll have good Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi at all?
Good is such a relative term.
Yeah, you want me to handle that?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and answer that, see.
When we initially asked our kids if they were coming for summer, part of the survey questions that we asked was, do you have reliable Wi-Fi or internet access at home? And most of them said yes. But for the few that didn't, we have actually rented Wi-Fi hotspots for the summer that they will be getting. Okay.
Gosh, that's awesome.
Provided
that
provided they have adequate Verizon coverage where they are, thank you, Jonathan, then they'll have that Wi-Fi hotspot and we'll be good to go. Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's an excellent question. Sorry, those earbuds are falling out of my ears and making me crazy. Okay, I'm ready now. All right, so so if you have software that you know you want them to use, please go ahead and give me a heads up so that we can go ahead and download that and everything. I think that leads us on to my next thought about supply lists. I have gotten myriads of emails from you guys the last several days, so thank you very much for that, about your personal supply lists as well as supplies for the kiddos. And I think most of you guys separated them out, which made my life a lot easier. So I believe we'll be working on those, and then we'll send an official, like, hey, we've got things for pickup. Unless they restick with that official date, or is that pending?
We're planning on it being the evening of the 26th, unless you hear differently.
Yeah, so pencil that into your life. The evening of the 26th, we'll do instructor supply pickups. You guys can swing by and get the things that you need. So again, if you have not sent me your supply list, especially if you're gonna need something that needs to be ordered, please, please, please get that to me as soon as possible. Otherwise, it very well may not be here by the 26th.
And the pickup for that will not be on campus. It will be at Second Presbyterian Church, which is about a block off of campus on Cumberland. It's just west of Neyland Drive, where Neyland Drive crosses Cumberland.
Yeah, and I'll be sure before we do the pickup, whether the date changes or not, to send out an official email reminding you guys, and with an address and a time and all that good stuff. Another quick thought about iPads, in case you guys were unaware, be mindful of the fact as you're planning that if your students have Zoom open on their iPads and then you send them to another application, you cannot see them anymore. Zoom is still running. Zoom does not like to minimize properly. It does not play nice. If you guys have FaceTime on an iPad, you know that this is the same thing. So really, Apple doesn't play nice. We'll blame that. So file that away as well as you're planning. If you have things where the kids need to have an application open and you need to see their faces at the same time, you may want to have a plan B or a backup, or see if your kiddo can Zoom from their phone, an application from the iPad. Just, again, flexibility and creativity are going to be the words of the summer, because you won't be able to see them as they work at the same time. So that's just something to keep in mind. Highly annoying, but unfortunately true. Okay, so let's see. We've got software that.
Nice.
Yes,
May I
Margaret.
ask a question?
Yeah, of course, Margaret. Good.
All right, you're saying Zoom, and I was studying Google Meets because we were doing Googles. Does it
So,
matter?
no, you guys are great. You've led me to my next thought. So I am not stipulating, we're not stipulating that you use Zoom or Google Meets. The kids, I think, as of lately, have been familiar with Zoom because that's what most of us as programs have been using. However, we have messed around with Google Meets. I will tell you there are pros and cons to both. The big difference between them, I feel like from what we're doing, is you have more control with Zoom. With Zoom, you have hosting privileges. You can share that with a co-host. You can mute people, and you can mute people so they cannot unmute themselves. You can share a screen. You can make it to where only you can share a screen. Essentially, Zoom has controls built in that imply that someone needs to run this and set boundaries for the rest of you. Google, which I absolutely love and have used several times even with my family, Google Meets, Google Hangouts and such. Google operates on the assumption that you can all handle your lives and I don't need to control you. So I can mute you, for example, Margaret, but you can unmute yourself and talk over me. That's, I can share things, but I can't prevent you from sharing things. You have those sorts of things. I believe you can set it with a waiting room. But only the waiting room stuff only applies if someone with who you did not originally invite to that meeting shows up. So there are a couple of things so we can really dig into the difference if you guys want to know. I don't have anything against Google Meet. I like it. You may want to play around with it, determine which one you like best. And it may be the sort of thing where you go between the two, depending on what your needs are. I will say, as I recall, Google Meet doesn't care if you're doing an activity or not. Jonathan, when you were on the iPad, do you remember? Because I was on my computer when we tested it. Do you remember if it cut off your video when you pulled up something else?
So if I remember correctly, it works just like Zoom. So if I go out of the application, it disappears and I no longer see any video going on.
Okay. So that's going to be then more of an iPad thing as opposed to a Zoom, as opposed to an application thing. But yes, if your preference is Google Meets, I don't take issue with it so long as it works.
I've used very little of either one. So I'm just asking, so I'll be prepared.
Yeah, so I said you're welcome either way. And again, if you guys need to do test runs for any of this sort of stuff, let me know. I don't mind picking us a day and we do like a test run for a couple random stuff and just keep windows open so you guys can play around with things and permissions and upload. Or if you have an activity you need to test drive and see if it works some more, that's fine. I don't mind doing that sort of thing. I just need a heads up and we can totally schedule something like that if you need to make sure people figure out what other people see on the other side of it. But yeah, so Google Meet, I will say a positive to it, since you guys can still see my screen, is on the stream. Google Meet does integrate with Classroom. You just have a Meet link. So at least from that standpoint, you don't have to worry about kids trying to find it. They open up Classroom and they click it. And then it just opens in another tab. So that's something that's incredibly useful. Okay, now go away. Go away. All right. So, sorry, I'm trying to think final things. Oh, so the last few things I want to talk about, recordings. This is a little bit of a caution. I know we've talked before again about since some of this is going to be live and some of it is not, we'll want you to record most of your sessions. I feel like you're all intelligent educators. I leave it to your discretion if you have a session that does not need to be recorded for one reason or another. It's fine. I will say, however, something to keep in mind that came up in a different meeting with someone was if you are going over any kind of sensitive information, again, term sensitive is open to definition or interpretation, be aware of the fact that when you do things in a virtual place, you cannot necessarily control what the kids are recording. So all of us, I'm sure, have had conversations with our kids in the classroom that taken out of context would have seemed highly inappropriate. Right? Especially those of us who teach things that require critical thinking and end up relating to life, and that stuff can go crazy pretty quickly. So in a classroom, you know who's there and it's fine, but be advised in a virtual sense, while they may or may not be recording in Zoom or Google Meets, you cannot necessarily guarantee that they're not recording over their phone or some other application. I will say our kids in general do not strike me as the type to go about this. Although there are some who may do it for non-malicious reasons, just because they want to make sure they get every thought or something, but just keep that sort of thing in mind. In some ways, you may want to check a little bit of the freeness of speech we typically enjoy just because the format is so different. Clarissa, I think I saw your hand first, and then Amy, I'll get you.
So quickly, with the app list that we're wanting, is there a way we can see maybe like what kind of other instructors are requesting? Some of our apps kind of double in purpose. And for example, like if I want Padlet and somebody else wants Notely, I mean, there are two apps that can do similar things. Maybe I just not request mine if I could saw that someone is already requesting that or adapt something.
That's a good thought. Let me ponder that. I feel like somehow the response to that is a Google Drive sheet where we can just have a running list, and I'll put what's currently on the iPads, and you guys can tell me if I need to add things. That feels efficient. Yeah. Okay. So let me write that down. It'll be something like that, and I'll just drop you guys a shareable link or something to it. So give me a day or two on that. And if I still haven't done it in a day or two, somebody send me an email and remind me because it got knocked down the list. Amy.
Do we need to read over the University of Tennessee rules to them for Zoom, or just emailing is sufficient? Which one?
Do you mean the acceptable use policies? Yes, they'll be getting a copy of it and signing off on one. Jonathan has rewritten the policy for us specifically to address what we're doing this summer.
Okay, so y'all will do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Sweet. So in line with this same recordings thoughts, we have created, I'll go back to my little shared window guy. We have created a recordings archives within Google Classroom. And this is another reason why I say I leave to your discretion classes that you would want to record in classes that you wouldn't. All of the recordings that we have are going to live in a centralized location. And all of these recordings are going to be accessible to all students, staff, well, the staff, and instructors, okay? Now, practically, we know that most of us are not going to go in there and watch most of them. So there's that. But the purpose is so that our students who miss classes can go in and find them, as well as if we have some kiddos who have a bunch of extra time on their hands, and surprisingly, we do have some, who are curious about other things, who want to tap into some stuff. I know, for example, I have a kid who's taking pre-cal and calculus next year. She's not doing both this summer, so she may actually start investigating a little bit into the calculus. They'll all live here, okay? I will basically add everyone. I will add all of you instructors as teachers. I will add all the students as students to keep our permissions the same. And then under classwork, you'll notice there's a class drive folder. So Google Drive creates a classroom folder for every class you create. And this is where all of our stuff will live, okay? You'll notice I've already broken this out into subfolders. English, foreign language, and math. I don't remember how ambitious I was. Ooh, exciting. Okay, so this is just a foreign language folder as an example. You'll see we do have our foreign language teachers. We've got, Clarissa and Irene are both teaching foreign language right now, and both of them have different sections. So I'm gonna give you guys the abbreviated version. If I need to go back and expound this to explain how to do it with Zoom or Tech, I can, but just so you guys know, within your Zoom settings, you can go in and set where you want your recordings to save. It's just the settings. You pick a folder, like how when you save a regular document, you tell it what folder to save in. Zoom lets you do that, and then as a default, all of your recordings are saved to that folder. What I would like for you guys to do is to save your recordings to their respective folders. For those of you who are teaching classes that kind of have a couple of levels of the same thing, so like Clarissa and Irina, you'll notice I've given each of you a folder with your name on it. So Irina, you would save yours to the Irina folder, Clarissa yours to the Clarissa folder, and then because you guys are amazing, you would go back and drop your advanced Spanish in that one, and your Spanish in that one, and your Spanish one in the other one, okay? If you're feeling less amazing, I would probably find staff to do it, but I'd love it if you guys did it so we didn't have to think about it. Appreciate that, guys. Okay, so for those of you who are just teaching one course, it'll be a whole lot easier, okay? If you're teaching several sections of the same class, You're welcome to the same thing. Maybe if you want to record all of them and they kind of stay together and just pull the one that's the best, I don't mind that. That's completely up to you. I leave that sort of thing to your discretion. Now, the techie part. The way these things get here, because as I'm sure you know, this lives in a browser and your computer does not, is this guy. I'm gonna have to move him over. Hang on. Sorry, I was watching hair videos. It's a thing. Allison's laughing at me. All right, Google has a thing. Look, you gotta pass. Sometimes y'all try looking at Google Classroom for 6 hours on end. You need somebody else talking in the room. Okay, let me see if I can get my drive stream open and into a window where you can see it. Just wait. Hang on, it's gonna be a thing. Give me 1 second. It might be a thing. Oh, it was behind my Zoom. Just kidding. All right. So you'll notice this is just my general downloads folder that no one cares about. On my computer, there is a thing called Google File Stream. Okay. Essentially, just quick show of hands. How many of you guys have mapped a drive? Have I mapped a drive before? Oh, Jonathan, good. I'll get into Assistant. All right, so the very short, abbreviated techie version of this, mapping a drive is like creating a filing cabinet on your computer for things stored someplace else. That's basically what it's like. So you have information that lives in the cloud, you connect said cloud to your computer so that when you go into things in your computer, you can get stuff from someplace else. That's the short version, okay? Google File Stream works the same way. So essentially, it is an application that you download. I will send all this out in an email with step-by-step instructions if needed. Essentially, you download Google File Stream, and it does walk you through it. You sign into your account, and then it basically creates this space on your computer that connects you to everything you have within your Google Drive folder, okay? So you'll notice that my Google Drive, I have done it so it's signed in to connect to the recordings archive so that there's a folder for all of these different things. So all the classrooms that we have and such are on there. All right. Yeah, see?
It's a lot like Dropbox. If they've used Dropbox, it's very similar, correct? As far as that being a mapped thing that's, not how it works exactly, but Dropbox shows up in your directory like that.
It is similar to Dropbox. I will tell you the biggest difference is Dropbox syncs things kind of back and forth. This one is an instance connection. So you delete stuff here, deletes there. It's not a back and forth kind of thing where things can live in two places. But yes, it is very similar to that if you've used Dropbox. Yeah. Amy.
Once we record the class, where is it and how do we copy it and move it?
So that's the thing. If you download Google File Stream, and it sounds like what I need to do is have a file stream party. That's really what it sounds like we need to do. So I'll poll you guys for general availability. Maybe Thursday is good, or we can do a day next week if that works better for you guys. And we'll do a step-by-step, everyone grab their devices and work through it. And actually just occurred to me, we need to do it after we distribute instructor stuff because some of the instructors will have new devices. So we'll do it after that. So end of this month, maybe some point during commuter week, that first week of June, we will have a Google File Stream party. Essentially the way it works though, Amy, is you don't have to copy it or move it. We are creating a path from your local computer to the Happy Cloud. And then in your settings, we will save it to that space and it will automatically go there because I wanted this to be as simple as possible and for us to touch it as little as possible. So once you get, I thought so, right? So once you get through the initial thing, you don't have to think about it. The only ones of you who will have to move anything are those of you who have different levels of classes or who are teaching more than one class. At which point it is just as easy as how you used to copy any document from one folder to another. It works exactly the same way. You just click and move. Okay? It works like any regular file folder structure. So we will plan, I'll make a note that we'll do that during that first week of June, if that works for everyone. And I'll walk you guys through that and I'll have all the official folders already set up and ready to go. You can do it. I will say if you guys choose to use Google Meets or something, I believe it also records, and I'm fairly certain you can also set defaults for where those recordings save. So that should also not be an option. And I will say that between now and then, I'll probably come up with an official algorithm. I would like for you guys to name recordings as opposed to just the automatic, you know, time and date stamp they put on them. I would love to know what is in it. I don't math, or at least I math as little as possible. So if I'm trying to direct a kid to something, I would love for them to be able to scroll through the recordings and find the one that says, oh, differential equations, part 1 or something, as opposed to them having to figure out what date somebody might have taught that on. So we'll come up with this very simple algorithm for that. But again, that will be in an email, a forthcoming email with everything else. Okay, I think that's it. Checking my list. Yeah, I believe that's it. Question, Charles?
Just real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry, Amy.
Those of you who are bi-weekly, you'll be filling out timesheets and sending them in. And we, unfortunately, this year, we have to do them daily. So I will be creating a timesheet for you and sending it to you in Excel. It'll be fairly self-explanatory, but instructions will come with it, but you'll have to send it in each day. And that's a university issue, not ours. I apologize, but I'll be getting that to you. It'll already have a lot of the stuff pre-populated for you. So thank you.
Sorry, quick question about timesheets, and I'm sure this will also be self-explanatory, but when we do them, it's the same thing as usual, 1 hour to teach, 1 hour to prep?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And you'll be paid the first week when we talk about commuter week. Those of you that are not ed specialists, you get paid for planning, and you get double planning that first week.
Amy, did you still have a thought?
Yes, about attendance. Who do we send it to?
You are required to be there, Amy.
Not my attendance, the kids' attendance.
You'll keep it on your own and just let us know if there. Jonathan and Leanne and I need to nail down exactly how we're going to enforce, so to speak, attendance, but we'll expect you to keep it on your own and just let us know if there is an issue.
Okay.
A final thought about Google Classroom, and I think I said this, but I don't remember. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. Since I'm using your UTK emails for this, because of all the other things, you will not actually have access to it until your UTK emails come through. I'm really sorry. That was not my intention. I planned on not looking at these things anymore between now and then. However, if there's anything in the meantime that you need from me, for those of you, I've got a couple of you guys who work for UT or whatever, you guys will have it because I can go ahead and send it to you. But for everyone else, I will, as soon as your stuff comes through, I will add you to it. If you have a personal Gmail, because you just want access to it and you want to set things up and mess around it, I don't mind. If you have a personal Gmail that you want to send to me to add you onto it, that's fine. Just please make a note so we remember to remove it before we drop the kids in. But I know sometimes everybody plans differently, and having as much access as much of your stuff as early as possible is typically the best way. So if you don't want the delay and you have a personal Gmail or you feel like creating one for this, that's fine. Just send it to me in an email and I'll add you to it, and then we'll delete that one out when we get your UT one before we drop the kids in. Any other concerns? Sweet. So as a recap, just very quickly, I will come up with some kind of instantly syncing, easily shareable list, probably within Google Drive or something, for the applications that are on the iPads. Give me a couple days. I think we have to get some iPads soon anyway, and I can check and see what's preloaded on the different programs and kind of give you guys a full list of what's here. Feel free to add them. I will probably have some kind of instructions like highlight added things so I know they're there or whatever. But we'll add those in. Let's see, again, if I do not yet have a syllabus from you or you need access to yours, share the syllabus with me, write it, share it. If you need access, send me an email asking for it. Same thing about pre and post tests. If you need access to old ones, please just shoot me an email and I'll send you what I have. If you're coming up with a new one, please just share it with me so that I can go ahead and drop that in as I'm messing around with Google Classroom. If you have questions or confusions about anything of a technological nature, you need to test drive stuff. I have pressed into service on more than one occasion some of our intrepid program directors because I needed more than one person in a call to figure out if something worked and on a different device. It is totally a thing. If you have something like that, you've got a lesson plan and you just trying to figure out something will work, please feel free to reach out to me. I don't mind setting up a little whatever and finding a few people to sign in on various devices so we can make sure that's a go. Put tentatively on your calendars for the first week of June, we'll do our dry file stream. Download and make sure that everybody knows how to set their Zoom settings or whatever they're using. I will ask that if you have a preference for a day or a day that does not work, that you go ahead and check your calendar and let me know. Send me an email. I'm going to take no news means you're completely flexible and just pick a day that works for me. Just as an FYI, I said I was going to create a poll and I thought about my to-do list and realized that was a lie. So if you have a day that does not work for you, please just let me know. Otherwise, or a time. Otherwise, I'll just pick a day and time and we will all come together. I believe that is everything, unless you guys have any further questions or comments. Going once, twice, perfect. All right, I think all of you guys know how to get a hold of me. I certainly blow up your inboxes and text you enough to where you should. So if you need anything, please let me know, reach out, and you'll be hearing from me in probably beginning of next week or so with all the official information about instructor supply pickups.
And I will say that Lauren is very helpful with helping. I had an issue earlier today and I was in, what was I in?
You were in Microsoft Forms.
I was in Microsoft Forms, not Google Forms. So anyway.
We're having adventures over here. Adventures.
She didn't call me out. I appreciate it.
I wouldn't do you like that. All right. So, and I do, just as a little personal note, and I think I can speak for the rest of the staff when I say this, we really appreciate you guys. I know this is a super crazy summer. Some of you guys have been teaching for us for several years, and you're probably like me in the sense that you only halfway newly plan things and you kind of roll with how the kids are because you've been doing it for so long. And yet this year, I think everyone is legitimately replanning. So really appreciate you guys taking the time to be flexible and creative and collaborate, and just kind of rolling with all of our crazy so that we can make it really good for our kids this summer. Greatly appreciated.
Yes.
All right. If there's no further thoughts, then go forth and handle the rest of your lives. Directors, did y'all have further thoughts?
Thank you, everyone, for being with us.
Perfect.
If you're working for us this summer, I want to thank Lyran specifically. She has put in so much work on this, and so thank you, Lyran, very much so.
You're welcome.
Lyran.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Let us know if you need us.
All right. Have a good one, you guys. Take care.